And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Tomorrow morning's flying weather showing a lot of IFR here. Central eastern interior all the way up to the North Slope in the western Arctic coast, down into the Madanuska Valley, and looks like about turning an arm eastward across northern Prince William Sound, of course Passes Canal, and a good portion of the Copper River Basin, mostly over the mountainous terrain for that area, and then IFR into the northern Panhandle with improving conditions, becoming VFR for Prince of Wales Island. Northerly flow here, still picking up enough moisture off the Bering Sea for IFR. Nunivak Island, down across the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR out to the west. And then, let me back that up, we're not standing in the way. IFR spreading in late tonight as far east as Amchitka Island. And then tomorrow, big area of IFR makes a push to the east there to Adak Island. And marginal VFR here to the east of that, and less IFR now. In fact, improving here over the eastern Bering Sea, especially over the western part of the state, down into northern Bristol Bay, good VFR. VFR breaking out northern Cook Inlet into the Susitna Valley. IFR, northeast interior, Brooks Range, North Slope, and Arctic coast. And diminishing IFR, but still holding through the afternoon here, Prince William Sound and the North Gulf Coast, in across the northern and northeast, southeast coast. And then for Thursday morning, not much change here. Northern, eastern Panhandle, IFR, marginal VFR elsewhere. Now just scattered areas of IFR over the east side, down into the Copper River Basin area, areas of VFR and areas of marginal VFR, but definitely improving here over south central Alaska and the interior as well. Good VFR all the way out to the west coast. IFR, North Slope, Arctic coast into the Brooks Range. And IFR here trying to push eastward, making it at least past Atka Island, but not quite getting into Nikolsky. Looks pretty good for the Pribilofs and eastern Aleutians, as well as areas farther out to the west for Thursday morning. And in the afternoon, that band of IFR progressing eastward to about the Pribilofs and at least coming in toward Unalaska Island, becoming VFR behind that from Adak to Shemya. And not too bad, good conditions, VFR over the interior, all the way up to the Brooks Range. Still some IFR for the North Slope and Arctic coast. And a little bit of IFR here over, well, around Yakutat into Lincoln Glacier Bay. Marginal VFR trying to become VFR as you head south toward Ketchikan and Annette and Dixon Entrance. Kodiak Island, Fognak Island, marginal VFR. Passes tomorrow are Anatuvik and Adigan. Both look, again, IFR, especially on the northern entrances. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, rainy, marginal, and windy, slowly improving, starting out IFR, hopefully becoming marginal VFR during the afternoon hours. Isabel, IFR, and Mintasta, marginal VFR. Tanita, IFR. Portage, another IFR day there, and Chilkoot and White also IFR. Freezing levels, 2,000 feet over the southern southeast coast there, and 2,000 feet, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the far western Aleutians. And taking a look at icing, got considerable moderate rime icing here with that intense storm pushing into the western Bering Sea, with icing spreading eastward to Atka Island tomorrow afternoon and covering a good portion of the southwest Bering. East of there, nothing of any significance, and areas of isolated moderate rime icing here along and south of the mid and upper Yukon River area, down into the Cook Inlet zone, eastward across the North Gulf Coast, southern Copper River Basin, and covering the Panhandle. And for the jet stream, we've got a trough over interior Alaska. To the east of that feature, southwest winds, 60 to 70 knots into the Panhandle. Much stronger winds just to the south there. And northwest winds here over the eastern Bering Sea, pretty strong, 110 to 160 knots as they blow across eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and in more of a southwest flow at 50 to 100 knots farther out to the west. 9,000 feet here, narrow ridge of high pressure in the central Bering Sea. Northerly winds 55 to 65 knots, strongest here eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula southward. Low pressure over the interior. Out to the west ahead of that next big storm, southwest winds 80 knots into the western Aleutians. And good southwest flow keeps the moisture flowing into the Panhandle up to 70 knots there. And for 3,000 feet, southwest flow 55 knots along the central coast of the Panhandle. Northeast at 60 knots there over the western Brooks Range. Turn northerly at 55 to northwest 55 there across the Alaska Peninsula. Still 35 knot northerlies for the eastern Aleutians, and a dramatic drop off here into this ridge of high pressure toward Atka, but then picking up again southwest 70 to 80 knots over the western Bering and Aleutians. Turbulence, look for moderate turbulence, considerable moderate turbulence spreading eastward to Adak during the day tomorrow. Also here with those gusty winds continuing a little farther inland now, so considerable moderate turbulence, mostly mechanical here along the Brooks Range, and then turbulence on the moderate side, still pretty bumpy for the west coast areas inland across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, Alaska Peninsula, improving though for the Fox Islands, and southeast coast, moderate turbulence, central and southern areas.